Good morning, 7th graders. Today we're going to work on Chapter 1, Lesson 2, which involves complex fractions and unit rates. As you can see, if you look at the rubric here, our goal is to be able to take a complex fraction and find the unit rate, like miles per hour or feet per hour. And hopefully you can relate this to real-world situations. Here's our first vocabulary word, complex fractions. What is a complex fraction? Well, it's when the numerator or the denominator of the fraction is a fraction. So it's basically where you have a fraction within a fraction. So everybody's favorite, lots of fractions today. So here's an example. You might have 1/2 as the numerator divided by 2. So I'm just going to write this another way. I'm going to write 1/2 divided by 2. And if you recall from 6th grade or even from earlier this year, we talked about when you have a problem like this, that instead of division, you can change it to a multiplication problem. How do you change it to a multiplication problem? Well, you keep whatever is first. So this half stays a half. We are then going to change this to multiplication. Because we changed that to multiplication, we now have to change this to its reciprocal. So instead of 2/1, like it is right now, you need to make it 1/2. So a half times a half is 1/4. So to simplify, 1/2 divided by 2, you get the answer of 1/4. 3 steps. Write it as a division problem, then change the division to multiplication, use the reciprocal, and multiply. Let's try another example. Now I have 1 as my numerator, so I will write 1 divided by a half. So I've now written it as a division problem. I'm going to keep my 1. I'm going to change this to multiplication. And instead of 1/2, I'm going to use the reciprocal, which is 2/1. 1 is also known as 1/1. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. So the answer to this problem would be 2. We do have some problems in our book that we will be taking some time to work on. But before we do that, we're going to also have some examples where we have not only just a fraction in the numerator and denominator, but we actually have a mixed number. So the first step we're going to do is we're just going to write this problem as a division problem horizontal. So I have 2 1/4 divided by 1 1/3. So that's what this problem is asking you to do. Take 2 1/4 and divide by 1 1/3. What we're going to have you do is take this mixed number and turn it into an improper fraction. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So that's also known as 9/4. I'm going to keep the division sign for now, just so that we don't get confused, while I change this. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So now I have 4/3. Now again, I have a division problem, 9/4 divided by 4/3. I don't want it to be a division problem. I would like this to be a multiplication problem. So now, I am going to keep my 9/4. I am going to change this to multiplication, and I'm going to use my reciprocal. So instead of 4/3, I am now going to have 3/4. 9 times 3 is 27. 4 times 4 is 16. 27 over 16, that's the improper fraction. How many times can 16 go into 27? It can go in one time, and there would be 11 out of 16 left over. So my final answer, written as a mixed number, would be 1 and 11 over 16. Because I changed this to a mixed number. Now let's try some word problems. All right, so in the first word problem that we're going to try, we're going to talk about Josiah can jog 1 1/3 miles in a quarter hour. Find his average speed in miles per hour. So this is the rate we're looking for. Miles per hour. Let's look into the problem and fill in what we know. Well, right here, I see how many miles. It looks like 1 1/3 miles. So that is my numerator. And the hours, it says, is 1/4 hours. So that is my denominator. I'm going to write this out. 1 1/3 divided by 1/4. Here I have a mixed number. I want to make it an improper fraction. So now I have 4 over 3. I want to change this to multiplication, and I want to flip this to the reciprocal of 4 over 1. So now when I solve this problem, I have 4 times 4, which is 16. And I have 3 times 1, which is 3. How many times can 3 go into 16? It can go in 5 times with 1 left over. So that means that you can travel 5 1/3 miles per hour. Please feel free to pause this video, rewatch any parts that are confusing, so that you understand this material better. Now for our final example for today is one last word problem. Tia is painting her house. She paints 34.5 square feet in 3/4 hours. At this rate, how many square feet can she paint each hour? So right here, this is the rate that they're asking for. So square feet, so feet squared per hour. Now you need to look to the problem to figure out how many feet squared. I read the second sentence. She paints 34.5 square feet. So 34.5, because it's square feet, is my numerator. In how many hours? Well, 3/4 of an hour. So that is my denominator. I'm going to take this problem and rewrite it horizontally. 34.5 divided by 3 over 4. I want to take 34.5 and make it an improper fraction. So you need to multiply and then add. 34 times 2 plus 1 is 69 over 2. Instead of dividing, I want to change this to a multiplication problem, which means 3 over 4 needs to turn to its reciprocal. I'm going to cross simplify so that it makes it easier to reduce my fraction at the end and find it in lowest terms. I know that 2 can go into 4 twice, and I know that 3 can go into 69 23 times. So now I have 23 times 2, which is 46 over 1, which makes the answer that Tia can paint at a rate of 46 square feet per hour. I hope these examples helped you. What you're going to work on now is Got It, page 18. There's some practice problems. Got It, page 19. So this is 19. There's also some on page 18. And we're going to work on some of the guided practice on page 20. So pages 18, 19, and 20 are the problems where you can find some additional practice and try this on your own. Thanks for watching. Please rewatch if you're still confused.